About 5, 10, and 12.
And begin when ready.
Good morning. My name is Naj and today I will be discussing the improvement of the marketing techniques used by original and independent filmmaking. But before we dive in, some important terms must be understood. First, there are the studios who are largely behind these different films, starting with Walt Disney Studios. The company is widely known for its advancements in 2D and 3D animation. It was founded in 1923 by Mr. Walt Disney, who ideally named the company after himself. In the modern age, Disney is usually on track for mass-producing franchise films. Franchise films are films that belong to existing material. They gain a consistent audience due to the constant production of sequels and spin-offs. While some franchises start as original ideas, they can sometimes become popular enough to start even cinematic universe. Blockbuster films are films that receive all the attention for most of the year. For example, Barbie and Oppenheimer in 2023. The general audience maintained talk on the films for months on social media and socially in person. On the other hand, there is A24 Studios, which is known for producing original and independent films. They were founded in 2012 by Daniel Katz, David Feckle, and John Hodges, and the studio is becoming more and more recognizable day by day. The difference between these two studios is that while they are both highly reputable companies, A24 is less focused on making the most of these ideas and turning them into consistent franchises, but instead leaning towards trying something new and giving new cast and crew a chance to be seen. Original films are based on original ideas. They are not based on previous works of literature or existing material. Independent films are not overseen by huge studios and typically have a more sophisticated cast and crew. They are all working together and solely focused on this one film. On to my research question. How can independent film studios improve their techniques in marketing? Grabbing the audience's attention and holding on to it until the film's release. We must identify what can be improved through the typical marketing campaign. We have to find the strengths and weaknesses of marketing campaigns and where do they captivate the audience and where do they lose them. If these new marketing strategies and improvements that we discover are sufficient, if they prove to be a big step forward for filmmakers gaining a reputation, then these filmmakers can be encouraged to continue their craft and stop at nothing to provide high quality and engaging cinema for a grateful and growing audience. So the issue exactly is that these franchise films are taking all the attention away from independent and original films. Notice how it is primarily movies by big studios such as Disney or Warner Brothers that always have the spotlight. That's because they have the most money to spend on marketing. They get the whole package, including trailers, posters, interviews, social media posts, everything. Smaller filmmakers may not have the time or resources to accomplish even half of that. And now it is only getting worse. David Zaslav, the chief executive officer of Warner Brothers, recently claimed that they will be focusing more on franchises moving forward, like DC and or Harry Potter. What does this decision mean? It means that Warner Brothers is going to have a consistent cast, crew, and audience to help these franchises flow, meaning it will be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for people to get to work with them. If the goal were to give filmmakers a chance rather than corporate greed, then instead of making 10 more movies all based around the same thing, they would instead curate 10 more original films to balance out attention for filmmakers. But it is almost impossible to communicate with studio executives, so we have to communicate with the smaller filmmakers and inform them of where they can improve. So who exactly is this affecting? Well, these filmmakers that I speak of are some of the strongest filmmakers in the industry. Not because they're making high quality cinema or such, but because they are small and continue to push through. They build these films out of passion rather than in hopes of attention. They don't expect their films to blow up, but some do. Some go into the industry hoping, and while attention shouldn't be the reason for film, it is a valid, genuine emotion that should be considered. The cast and crew can be really talented and produce something really good, but will ultimately give up because their film received little to no praise. While filmmaking is considered an experience, it exists to also be seen. Cinematography and acting are meant to be appreciated. And it is understandable when filmmakers become upset when they do not receive the attention they deserve. They do need to earn a profit, especially if this is their career. If they're not making enough money, how are they expected to continue their craft? The largest studios do not have this problem. Their solution to never running out of money is to continue making films they know people will see, which are franchise films. They know people will come to see their films just for the title of the studio alone. If you take a look back at the history of these franchises, they used to leave a lot of room for other successes. For example, in 2022, Marvel Studios, who's also under Disney, released 3 blockbuster films, 3 Disney Plus exclusive TV shows, and 2 more short specials, equaling a total of 8 productions just for Marvel fans. They had to provide excessive marketing for each production to maintain the hype from the fans and keep them engaged and distracted from anything else. In 2012, however, only 1 Marvel movie was released, with another releasing a year later. Despite having less content, Marvel Studios was still considered pretty successful back then. The abundance of content now has fans losing interest in Marvel, as the quality of their films has fallen. Nowadays, there are noticeable, poorly executed visual effects, everything has a strict deadline, so a lot of the content ends up being rushed. Fans prefer Marvel to take their time on these projects, but with 8 big projects released in 1 year, that is very difficult to do compared to their original business model, where they would release 1 to 3 films per year. Now, with a total of 16 Disney productions, counting Marvel, Star Wars, and even Pixar, releasing in 2022, there is an issue with with quantity over quality, and they are leaving little room for smaller and more original films. Getting into the experiment itself, the expected approach is to first find participants. We will have up to 14, as respondents are not giving simple yes or no answers. They are explaining their views on the marketing material for the 4 marketing campaigns they will be analyzing. They will be Gen Z, as the majority of moviegoers as of 2019 would be Gen Z by 43%. The respondents will all be from Richmond Community High School to make viewing sessions more simple and easy. They are not reviewing the actual films, they are taking a look to the marketing material for these films, including the logo, the poster, the trailer, the behind-the-scenes clip, the cast interviews, the reviews, and the social media pages. Once the data is collected through Google surveys, it will be translated into a Google Sheets document. It will be organized by positive and negative responses. The number of positive and negative responses will help represent the amount of time and dedication that should be spent on each aspect of marketing. After the improvements are finalized and recorded, the ultimate goal is to publish this information so filmmakers and general audiences can read about it and become inspired. The films that the audience will be reviewing are films that stuck out during their respective years. First, there is 2023, which is considered post-pandemic for the film industry, as more films are released in theaters again, rather than going straight to digital streaming services. 2 quality films that released that year are The Little Mermaid, which counts as a franchise and a blockbuster film, and Past Lives, which counts as an independent and original film. Then there was the year 2019, which is the most recent pre-pandemic year, where every film was released in theaters and general audiences were not very concerned with streaming services. The 2 films for 2019 are Avengers Endgame, a franchise film and arguably the blockbuster of the year, as the film had been hyped up for almost a decade. Then there is The Lighthouse, which stands as an independent and original film. Both The Little Mermaid and Avengers Endgame were produced by Walt Disney Studios, and Past Lives and The Lighthouse were produced by A24 Studios. In this experiment is Disney versus A24, franchising versus originality. If we can identify what the larger companies do best, smaller companies can replicate that strategy and earn the same amount of respect. So firstly, in The Little Mermaid, to notice about here is that the majority had not seen the film, but the majority would have watched it after witnessing the marketing campaign. Both people said they would prefer the original over doing a live action film. Most people tuned out during the cast interviews. Then on the next film, Past Lives, nobody had really seen it. Most people have found it kind of boring. The logo, the poster, and everything was losing color. In the behind the scenes clip, they were talking about finding a street. Not many people were interested in that. But still a couple did decide that they would watch the movie and were satisfied with it. Avengers Endgame was majority positive. Most people were already familiar with the Marvel franchise. And people who responded to watching the film said that they would either watch it again or wouldn't watch it because they already have. But a lot of people were inspired after seeing the marketing to watch it again. And then for the next film, The Lighthouse, this is the one that surprised me the most. Nobody had seen the film, but then the majority of respondents said that they would, and were actually dissatisfied with the marketing, claiming that they wanted more from the film. And were very satisfied with the poster, the trailer, the behind the scenes, and the cast interview. After analyzing all the results and averaging them out, witnessing the poster, the trailer, the behind the scenes, and the cast, they got the most points for the film. Aspects such as the social media and the reviews did not receive much positive feedback, with most respondents just not caring about checking out the film's socials. Most would not allow a Rotten Tomatoes score to be the deciding factor in watching a film. Filmmakers should focus primarily on the more watchable aspects of marketing if they want to keep the audience interested. The audience keeps an eye out for visuals in the trailer and the poster. They like an aesthetic. They also enjoy seeing the chemistry of the cast and the crew. And it feels like they are passionate about the film they made, then that can encourage them to look forward to it. Passion suppresses greed. Marketing campaigns cannot use money as an advertisement. If a director spoke up about their film and claimed that they only made it for the money, the audience wouldn't support that. Just making money is not what the film is about. It is about the experience, and seeing that experience glow through the marketing of a film is what keeps the audience interested. The experiment was completed with a very small group of people, with not every person able to respond, in a very small amount of time with limited resources. To get more in-depth and accurate results, this experiment would need to be repeated on a much larger scale. Across the globe, films, marketing campaigns, and their audiences would need to be studied. They would monitor interest in the film to test the marketing campaign's effectiveness and level of engagement. However, the experiment would need to be done across several different types of films and their genres. For example, keeping track of potential Oscar-worthy films, horror films, or even just like short films. All types would need to be considered for the experiment to work so that we are fair to all kinds of filmmakers and their audiences. Lastly, every filmmaker can't receive credit for the work. There are tons of films released every year, and they are not all going to gain recognition. It is unrealistic for a filmmaker to expect their work to thrive, but that does not mean they should give up. This data, in hopes of becoming published and available, will inspire filmmakers and narrow their expectations and craftsmanship for our marketing campaign. It will instill confidence into the minds of young filmmakers who are only just stepping into the world of cinema, and experienced filmmakers who still need help shaping that path. Like with my hopes for the participants of my study, I predict the general audience can also feel inspired after looking through this experiment, and support these smaller filmmakers and petition for more originality in Hollywood. At the end of the day, it is their money that is going to all these studios, who is truly the audience's decision on what is next for those studios. We have to be loud about it. If more people speak out about this issue, it could influence the studios themselves to push out more original content, finally giving more filmmakers a chance to pursue their craft. As stated previously, filmmaking is more of an experience than it is anything else. In a perfect world, there's no charge for films, and people can enjoy cinema as freely as they please. But a monetary award is required for filmmaking because everything costs money. Filmmakers should not let money get in the way of what truly they want to accomplish. There are a lot of shortcuts filmmakers can take along and still have a solid product at the end. Not even Disney and Warner Brothers live peacefully. They still have to put in effort for most of their projects, but they receive recognition constantly. It is time to share the spotlight with more filmmakers and give them the chance to accomplish great things. But no matter what, if they are passionate about what they do, they will be happy with their final product and nothing else. This experiment has room for improvement, and on a much larger scale could provide much more significant data for filmmakers compared to what I have now. It would require a lot more ground to cover and a lot more participants, but the research could work and truly benefit all filmmakers around the world. Thank you.
Thank you. We have about 5.5 minutes for questions from the panelists.
All right. Naj, how did your initial exploration of the scholarly conversation lead to your final research question or project goal?
Well, when I first started the project, I was very recently getting into film. I had been well aware of the issue brewing between franchise films and original films, but I did not truly understand it, like the effect behind it. Once I discovered the impact of these films, never doing well, the project goal was pretty clear. If films continue to do poorly, people may give up, discontinue their craft. My goal was to inspire these filmmakers and give them hope by curating a new marketing plan, a plan that would help guide their focus on what matters most in developing a marketing strategy and grabbing the attention of the audience.
How do your findings provide direction for future research in the field?
I hope the future of my research is promising. I plan to get it published using my connection with Virginia Public Media. If it gains attention, the idea is that it will inspire readers to help advocate for independent filmmakers and support them whichever way possible, specifically by engaging more into the highlighted aspects of marketing.
Okay. Think back to the initial curiosity that sparked your inquiry. What other curiosities do you have, and how has this process prepared you to explore them?
I've always wondered if filmmakers ever anticipate their marketing to go well. Do they post a trailer already expecting low reactions? Is that ever intentional? The point of marketing is to generate interest, but it is also one of the basics of filmmaking. It is very possible that filmmakers just post the marketing and call it a day, not really expecting much from it. I still believe, of course, it is imperative that people earn the respect and credit they deserve, but I also respect a filmmaker's wishes. I would not push the study on someone who refused it. Any further questions?
We have 3 minutes left for additional questions or follow-up questions for this panel.
Something that caught my attention when you said filmmakers should continue their efforts, and you said something regardless of the kind of money, regardless of the money, and then you went to Walt Disney. Walt Disney seemed to have a whole lot of money to throw away. They can purchase sites for something like $50-60 billion and don't feel it.
Right.
So I didn't. Could you make some more statements about that? Because I was trying to understand the comparison. You went right into Walt Disney after you said filmmakers should let money be a hindrance. Then you said Walt Disney is something. But Walt Disney is huge.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Walt Disney is huge. They have a lot of money and they spend it wherever.
That's
But
right.
it's spent primarily on the franchise films, on the blockbuster films. On Disney's side of things, if they truly wanted to help the smaller filmmakers, they would spend money on them, bringing them the spotlight. But then on the smaller filmmaker side, they might not have enough money to produce these films. But what I'm saying is just because you might not have enough money doesn't mean you should give up. There are, of course, a ton of shortcuts that filmmakers take to, produce films. Some people even just do it by themselves. And on Disney's side, they could, come down and help these people, give them the money they need, and inspire more filmmakers to, try and pursue their path.
Right. And why do you think they won't do it?
Mostly because franchise films is where the money's at. That's how they've been making their money for the past decade. With Marvel and Star Wars and Pixar buying all these different franchises. They can't really buy anymore, I'm pretty sure, because they'll end up becoming a monopoly. But yeah, franchises is where the money is at.
Okay, we have half a minute.
Oh.
Quick question, quick answer.
Oh, shoot. So you were talking about a business, right? And ultimately, this is a business. So did you evaluate yourself as being perhaps idealistic but not realistic with this project?
Well, like I said, it's almost impossible to communicate with studio executives. So it's important to look at the other side of things, where if we get, enough small filmmakers to want to participate in this, they can get louder and maybe eventually reach these executives. But it's about just inspiring them.
Okay. We are out of time for this presenter. Thank you very much.